we must bring the one and only Will Fry into this show. He is he's a Penn, a Wharton grad, a former business broker, and he is doing big things inside of our space, especially as the boomers begin to retire. What's happening to all of those healthy businesses? Who is going to acquire them and run them and go up and to the right? We want to get his mind share on what businesses are worth buying today, what's happening in 2026. Everybody, welcome inside this show, the one and only Will Fry, founder and CEO of American Operators. Get it!
That is amazing. Most hyped entrance of all time. That is I need more of this in my life.
Oh, well, that's what we try to do it. We try to do it right. We try to do it right.
You did
for
it right.
People like you, Will. Man, give us some background, if you would, Will. The things that I didn't mention. Man, how did you get here to what you are doing today? I mean, I find this to be I find the opportunities on Main Street. Most of my time is spent on the interwebs and inside of e-commerce and direct to consumer. But I just, when I think about Main Street and retiring boomers and what's going to happen to all of these small businesses, to me, it seems like it's rife with opportunity. But man, if you would, I'd love to just Google Earth out a little bit and give us a little bit of your backstory, how you got here today.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the short version of it is that I grew up in it, from a small town in Eastern North Carolina called Greenville. And you mentioned kind of I went to Wharton undergrad, which I normally rarely bring up in conversations at risk of sounding like I don't know if we're allowed to swear on here, but you can kind of fill in the blank of where I was headed. But the irony of it is that, 6-7 years ago now, a bunch of our family friends were going through retirement, and there's no business broker in Eastern North Carolina. And they're like, oh, Will went to Wharton. He can help us. And that means absolutely nothing. I was like a hood rat undergrad, just having fun and building stuff. But I guess I was kind of anointed to try to help out. And the more that I dug into it, I was like, oh, shit. There's so many of these businesses that are critical to the communities. They employ a bunch of people. Their kids move off to in my case, most of my friends are in like Raleigh or Wilmington or Charlotte. They don't want to take over the family business. And they really just don't have a clear opportunity of what to do. Nowadays, as Main Street has become more in vogue or popular, they're forced to make the decision between two things. One is, hey, you have all these Wall Street guys trying to roll up different industries that could sell out to one of those private equity funds. And not all private equity is evil, but oftentimes that doesn't necessarily end in the kind of outcome that the owners want, both for their community, for their employees, for their customers. Or they can take an absolute flyer on an individual figuring out how to buy a business. And buying a business is not easy. It's a learned skill. And if you look at a lot of the individuals, you're kind of unicorn hunting. You're looking for someone who knows how to buy a business, who has the money to finance the business, and who actually knows how to operate it. And the reality is, normally you get one or the other. You get some guy from, GSB or Harvard or Wharton who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room and has all the tabs in his Excel spreadsheet, but has never stepped foot in a metal fab or a peanut processing plant or fill in the blank. Or you get the more blue collar folks who really know what they're doing from an operational side, but they don't even have Excel downloaded, and say, all right, well, neither of these is probably the ideal outcome. And so that's, what we're setting out to tackle.
Wow. In 2026, what are you looking for as far as business categories? What's a great business for? Imagine, you're starting out. You want to give someone a good starter business where it's not going to be, hey, you need to go launch a massive biotech company. That's a little overwhelming. Could you give them a kind of an easier starter business that you would be looking for in 2026?
Yeah, so we focus on 3 categories. Industrials, so within that is like manufacturing and distribution. Business services, so within that are like commercial plumbing, commercial electrical, asphalt, paving, septic. And then the last category is what we call consumer services, which is largely, residential landscaping, residential HVAC, automotive, collision repair, that sort of thing. If I was giving advice on what business to start from scratch, I would typically look at something that is relatively high growth and labor dependent because of your point. Like, you don't want a bunch of startup costs. So I wouldn't do anything in industrials. I wouldn't do something like septic, for instance, where a vac truck could run you 250, 500K. I'd probably do something like landscaping, fencing is a really good one. Roofing, you can come up to speed actually quite quickly. The license trades are hard because if you don't have a journeyman, you're not going to be able to get the master license and be able to really run your business compliantly. So yeah, I'd focus kind of more on home services where you can do a lot of the blocking and tackling yourself and ramp up from there.
Amazing.
You know, I have often thought of this, Will, simply because in our audience and a ton of my friends, very incredible digital skills as far as getting eyeball, content related, even managing inventory, things like that, managing, on a small scale, managing people, but it's all, a lot of it really centered around doing digital services, basically. And I have always wondered, I've always dreamed, boy, maybe someday I can just take what I've learned over here and find a real winsome way to apply it on Main Street and just do a bang up job and make all the monies that have ever existed. But I've never done that. And, to be honest, very few of my friends have gone that way, simply because, object in motion stays in motion. But if somebody like I described came to you and said, "Well, I want to be a small business owner. I've been making everybody else money. I think I can do this, but most of my skills and my experience has been over here in kind of the digital world." Now, what would you coach them up? Where would you send them? What would you say to them first? Would you tell them, "Don't do that. You're not ready"? Or, what would you say, Will?
I think at the end of the day, you have to believe in people, and I probably wouldn't say you're not ready. I think for them, the question is twofold. One, do they take their skills and just set up their own agency within something they know really well? Or do they take the route of saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy a business and use my skills to create and capture value through that business that I own"? That may not be an agency. It may be a services business or a distribution business, or fill in the blank. I think there are probably like two other things for that person to keep in mind. One is that make sure that the edge that you have is the edge the business actually needs. I say that because I meet a bunch of people who are like, "Oh, the business doesn't have a website, doesn't have a CRM. I'm a digital guru. I'm going to throw a website. I'm going to throw a CRM." Well, maybe the business has existed for 30 years without a website because it actually doesn't need a website, and a website isn't valuable just because you have one. Like, I see that fallacy of like, "Hey, I'm gonna get a commercial contracting business and slap like awesome ads on it and this snazzy website and this AI enabled CRM." And it's like, look, dude, like, you get all your work from general contractors who are bidding you out subcontracting work. They're not Googling. They don't need to find the website. They don't care. And so it's like, if your edge is gonna be that, make sure you have a business that needs that edge. And that's where like the residential stuff normally is way more of a marketing motion than a sales motion. And so if you're really good at digital, I would say do that. The second thing is make sure that if there's a piece of the business that you have to get right, you can actually do that. An example of what I'm alluding to is like estimation. If you come from a digital world, but you don't know how to estimate a residential paint job, there's a world in which you go and you buy that business or you start that business and you become your own worst enemy because you're either overestimating because you don't know what you're doing and no one's giving you work because it's more expensive, or you're underestimating and you're winning a whole bunch of work, but it's all unprofitable and you just dug your own grave a different way. So that would be my
great
I don't know,
point.
Guidance.
Those are great points.
Well, I know you said you don't want to mention Wharton because you feel that it is pretentious and, but not all of us got into Wharton. It's one of the best schools on the entire country.
Donnie J, baby.
There you go.
Send them to the White House.
What's a key kind of piece of advice or something you learned at Wharton that's still applicable to this day that maybe the folks that all didn't get into Wharton, I didn't get in, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get anywhere, could use for their business? What was some of those really big insights that you draw from Wharton?
It's nothing I learned in the classroom. I think it's probably two things. One is like always surround yourself with people who are like way, way, way better than you.
Yeah.
Um, Specifically in your professional life. Normally in your personal life, it's fun to, have a little mix. But in your
Yeah.
professional life, you kind of always want to be pushed and outmatched and feel like
Yeah.
you don't deserve to be surrounded by the people that you do. And I say that because like two things. One, obviously you can learn a lot from them. But for me, like I'm a very competitive person, and it makes me be like, shit, we got to go faster. I got to like
Yeah.
Yeah.
push harder. And so it's inspiring from that perspective. I think the second piece is that um, stay curious. Like one of the best pieces of advice I got was while I was in undergrad, and it was someone that I met through school. They weren't a professor or a student, but it was, I think, an alumni. And he was like, "Hey, Will, like your only job for the first 10 years after high school is to max your learnings per day. Like, don't care about pedigree, don't care about
Mm.
how much money you made." And that gave me a license. Like, I didn't try to go to Goldman, I didn't try to go to Wall Street.
Sure.
And it was because like I had that kind of borrowed confidence from him of like just like nerd out and compound learnings, and it'll pay off in the long run. And so I think that's probably like maybe the second piece of advice or learnings that I got from undergrad.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Man, tell me this. Tell me this, Will. When people come to you and they're like, I want to be a business owner. I'm ready for this. Maybe I got the money, maybe I don't. Maybe I need, I probably need help all around. But is there a certain kind of person where you meet them and you're just like, man, this person's high agency. I'm sure that we can find them the kind of right fit, or we can direct them in the right direction. Is there a kind of person that you come across that you just feel like, there's a few things we need to work on, but they got the right stuff? What is that
Mm.
stuff, if it
Yeah,
exists?
I would break it down to like the technical skills and then the person. Um,
Mm.
the person answers or thoughts are probably more interesting, and that would be you want someone who like loves the suck because like it just sucks. Like it just sucks. There's no other way around it. You have to love the suck.
Yeah.
Like I meet a number of people who are like, oh, I want to leave corporate America and do business ownership because I'll have freedom and autonomy. It's the least
Yeah.
free thing you could ever do. You're a slave to yourself, like, but you're still a slave,
Yeah.
or you're a slave to your customers. And so, like, I think you want people who are in it for the right reasons, and normally that's like they want ownership.
Mm.
Um, they want to provide value to people. Maybe they have like a little bit of ego. They want to prove to their spouse or their family that they can
Yeah.
do it. And I think like a little bit of ego is healthy generally. But it's not because like I want this like freedom or independence, because you're not free, or
Yeah.
not in the same way at least. So I'd say that's probably piece one. And then piece two is I want someone who I can probe really hard on what they've done in the past, particularly like mistakes they've made or really shitty life experiences that they've gone through, and they've reflected and like do things slightly differently because of that experience. The
Mm.
worst
Yeah.
people are the people who just like bang their head for like a decade, and it's like, dude, there's like a door like 2 clicks to your right. Like, why don't you walk through the door? And they're just not
Yeah.
actually like improving. I would say those are probably the two big like personality or life experience things that I try to look for.
Oh,
So
that's good.
imagine you find that perfect person, but they have no capital.
Yeah.
How does that conversation then change? Where it's like, you are the perfect pedigree we need. You're going to be the perfect person. You just have no capital. Like, this is how we do this.
That's fine. Most of the folks that we partner with are putting next to nothing into the deal. So like our model is at close, we give them 10% of the company that we've acquired, and they
Yeah.
earn
Wow.
into 70% over the course of a decade. So
Yeah.
their co-invest, whatever amount of money they put into the deal, is going to increase it from like 10% to like 10.05. Like it's immaterial. We're giving them 10% regardless of how much money they're putting in.
Sure.
And so what we do care about is that their personal finances are in order, because that's a good proxy for how they would run the business. And the
Yeah.
shame, and like one of the issues that is bipartisan, is like we have a huge affordability crisis here.
Yeah.
And life happens, they get into medical debt, like some shit happens, and their credit's really not in a good spot. And
Yeah.
there, like, we have to know that it was like a blip on the radar. It's even if like their score isn't great, they've been current the past 36 months, so on and so forth. because our fear is like, hey, you know, you think you're going to be a great crypto trader and then you buy a, i5 and it's like, dude, what are you doing? So that's the financial issues that we get tripped up. It's not how much money you can bring to the table, but it's like, is your house in order? Or like, you got people coming after you with some bats and shit because you made some poor decisions.
Yeah, you don't
Which
want them
shocks
showing
you
up to
how
closing.
common it is. Yeah. You'd be surprised.
They're showing up to closing in the Range Rover Defender, and they're like, "Oh, I did it as a celebration." You're like, "Oh no, this isn't good. You missed
please
this."
Please don't do that.
I find this fascinating, Will. Coming into it 10% and then you earn your way up from there. I mean, that's can you tell me more about this? I mean, just describe more of this, because I find this incredibly compelling. Give me the whole gamut of American Operator and how this thing works. This is incredible.
Yeah, like our the reason we exist is we want to keep the American dream alive, because as soon as you think that, there's no more upward mobility and you can't become a millionaire and tomorrow's going to be worse than today, you enter like a death spiral as a country. And that's what drives us. Like, we don't want a world where all of these private equity funds own all the businesses in Main Street. The question is like, okay, well, how do you do that? And we spent about 4 years operating more of a picks and shovels business, where we would try to offer kind of a la carte capital and services to folks who are interested in buying a business. And the challenge becomes buying a business is really hard. And the people who are best suited to run the business aren't the people who are actually good at buying it, and vice versa. So that's when we launched this operate to own model. We were like, hey, we're really good at sourcing and underwriting deals. We've seen a ton of transactions, so we know what goes poorly on the back end as well. Let us centralize that and then back the folks who are best suited to lead it, and create a pathway for them to become majority owners. The reason that we have that kind of share transfer mechanism over time is to make sure that they do become majority owners and the business stays in the hands of local owner operators. And if I had to argue, why is it selfish or in our interest to do that to an investor or someone like that, I would say that by having that mechanism, we're able to get retiring owners to partner with us at lower prices than they would to private equity, because we're delivering them the non-monetary stuff that they care about. And then secondly, we're able to partner with really great operators and not have to pay them a shit ton of cash, because they know, oh, there's this huge kind of equity that I'm building in this business and wealth I'm building there. And so typically we're paying around 120 to 200K base salary for the operators we partner with. Which if you compared what like a private equity fund is paying, they're paying like 300-400K plus this a huge bonus. Now they're only giving them like a point or so or less of the deal. Why that matters to us is it means we can partner with much smaller businesses and not have this like operator salary that on day one is just bleeding the business dry of cash because you're having to pay up a really big salary. And so that's kind of the two selfish reasons that we do it.
Man, I am blown away by this. I love this. This is great, Will. Man, that's so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's I wish 5 years ago I woke up from a dream and had the model baked out, but it took 4 years of brain damage to get here. So
Will, could you talk a little bit about I think people fall in love with very sexy businesses, and I think they're some of the worst businesses that you could possibly own and operate, just because it's a horrible thing. Could you talk about actually some of the worst businesses that people can go into, where even though they look like the shiny thing, the fun thing to do, it's actually a horrendous idea if you're a first-time operator or a second-time operator?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some like pithy smartass comment, but generally speaking, you want to like absolutely run from wherever all the newly graduated MBAs are headed into.
All right.
And it's like, it's true for maybe two reasons. One is that anytime something's hot, the price of that thing rises irrationally. So like you saw it in you see it right now actually in HVAC, where HVAC is like unsexy, but it's become sexy. And so you have Apollo just invested in a firm called Apex Home Services, which is backed by a private equity group called Alpine. And they valued it at 20 times EBITDA, this huge kind of roll up of HVAC. Wow. What that means is that Alpine can pay really high prices, 10 times, to a really small HVAC business, and it still pencils for them because they have that kind of spread. No individual is like, we can't compete. We're nowhere close to that. Right. And so what happens is sometimes you get individuals being like, oh, it's okay. Well, they're valued at 20 times on the back end. I can put a bunch of these guys. Like, that's like fake math. Like, that's not real math. You don't know that math is going to be true 5 years down the line. So I think that's kind of thing number one. Thing number two is, like, as you have the money pour in and the prices get really high, you're having to compete with like the best of the best because the money's attracting them into the space. Yeah. So not only are like the price is high, but also the people there are like savages. And like, to give Apex some credit, they have some of the best operators in the game. They have this really badass veteran recruiting process where they bring in a bunch of guys from like Ranger Regiment to run the HVAC businesses. So like, they're not evil. Like, I prefer our model, and I think our model is better for the country, but they're not evil, and they're good. Like, they know what they're doing. So it's like, you're going to tell me that you're going to come in here with no HVAC experience and compete with them? Like, no way. You're not. They're going to eat your lunch. So I think, generally speaking, you want to go after stuff where you have your own conviction about it. The math pencils without assuming any bubble or it becoming hot. And then if it becomes hot after you enter it, that's all the better. And so, like, for us, we do a lot of stuff that, like, septic's a good example. Like, people don't love poop, generally speaking. But
fair enough.
But 75% of all new homes constructed in New England have a septic tank. Only 2% in Texas. And so there are parts of the country where you need these septic services. And then you have kind of a baseline demand because a lot of sewer systems require regular like grease trap cleaning, and like automotive, you need to make sure that you're cleaning out your traps so that chemicals and solids aren't getting back into the main water supply for the city or town that you live in. So you have this kind of like recurring work from the businesses. They're required to do it from different agencies. Wow. And then you have the kind of construction element for areas of the country. So like, that's the type of stuff that we like, where it's like, hey, you need them to exist. You don't want them to go out of business. That's really bad for the local homeowners. There are elements there's a credible reason that it's going to continue to exist for the next 20 years. It's not sexy. You can't slap AI on it. Like, AI is not dredging your septic tank anytime soon. No. And then we can partner with operators who've been in the industry for a decade or two and be like, hey, it's time for you to become an owner. So that's the type of stuff we like to do. And normally it's a little bit, niche. The other area that we end up playing a lot in is like bumfuck nowhere. Like, that's where most of our deals are. So like, if you think about like who you need to buy one of these businesses, you need operating expertise and capital. And if you're in Houston, there are a lot of people who have both because it's a really big metro. People want to move there. You can convince your spouse to move there. If you're in like middle nowhere, Idaho, there's no one in town who has both of those. And then separately, the folks who do and could potentially relocate, normally their spouse who's living on the Upper East Side isn't really looking to do that to her social life. So that's where we can come in and be like, hey, we can unbundle the really great operators, back them with the capital. And a lot of the folks that we partner with, they actually relocate to the business.
Oh, wow. I love all of that. There was a guy that went viral who cleans out and dredges septic tanks in the South.
Yeah.
And he went viral on TikTok because he does it and he records all his stuff. And, the homeowner will be like, is this gross? He's like, nah, I'm pumping out liquid gold. What do you mean? And he loves it. And so he has this passion for septic tanks, which is making him a lot of money now. And then he's also kind of shifted that into a content career too. But pretty wild stuff.
And to give you a counter example is porta potties are super hot by PE. Because like, you have the whole like supply chain, you have a brand that people know, you can sell in. So like, we don't touch portable sanitation because they trade at crazy multiples.
Yeah. I also love the fact that you've brought up the that Apex Ranger model, because I've actually I've dove into that personally. And when you read that, you're like, I don't want to compete against these guys. No. Because the way that they're thinking about it, it's like, well, I don't want to compete against this dude. I feel like he wakes up at 3 a.m. and then runs 50 miles and then just eats, breathes, and sleeps the business. Like, I don't want to compete against that guy.
Yeah. You want to compete where you win.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Man, this is compelling. This is compelling, man.
Thank you.
Tell me this. People who are listening, watching, we'll clip this up 1,000 ways and repost it hereafter. but they want to find you. They want to talk with you. They want to become the kind of person, that, becomes a owner operator alongside you and earns that kind of equity long term. Man, where did they go? What's the process look like? Where should they find you and talk to you, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out. I'm on X. Sometimes I post, sometimes I don't. It normally is the opposite of whatever chaos in my life is going on. So, like, if I go radio silence, high chaos. But I'm on X and LinkedIn. You can reach out to us at americanoperator.com. I would say there's kind of 3 ways for folks to get involved. One, if they have around 7 years of experience in one of these industries, we would love for the opportunity to partner with them and help make them an owner. And they can reach out on the website. Cole from our team will hop on the phone with them. 2 is if they know a retiring owner, we have a referral program where we'll give them 2% of whatever we buy the business for. They can either take it as cash, or they can be like, hey, I actually want to stay along for the ride and roll it as equity. So like if they have a friend or a family member, they can do well by them and then also get a little bit of skin in the game for themselves. And then if they just love America and the America Dream and Main Street, we don't really have a great way for them to get involved. Besides, we have a crazy Facebook group that's pretty fun. We sell some swag. We have a bat. I should send you all the bat. It's a longer story. It's called it's to defend Main Street from all the finance bros, and it says "not for baseball" on it.
I love that. Do you
have
baller? Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, go get it. Go get it. We want to see the bat. Not for baseball.
That's how you do it.
Man, I'm so glad that we have had him on the show, man. I'm inspired by American Operator. I mean, this guy's a beast, and their mission is powerful. Let's see it here, Will.
So this is our not for baseball wooden baseball bat.
Love it.
And then it has American Operator on the base of it.
Oh,
and if you ever get some like annoying people in your business, you can knock them.
There we go.
Then we have some funny hats. My spouse doesn't love this hat, but it's pretty swaggy.
Make businesses local again. There we go.
Nice American flag.
Love it.
Amazing.
So yeah. Anyways,
and your t-shirts are incredible. The American Operator t-shirt with the cowboy.
Yeah, they're cool.
Let's go.
Yeah,
so
it's like
sick.
Marlboro inspired. But it's cool.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Well, we're going to be sending people your way, my friend, and man, we appreciate you coming on here and detailing this too. The mission and the model to me are like so aligned. I mean, it's palpable.
Yeah,
it's palpable. Will.
Yeah, the goal is to kind of make it very coherent. Like there's not these weird trade-offs or incentives in it.
Yeah.
Well, man, we feel it. We feel it. We appreciate you for coming and pitching the dream and for making it real.
Keep it alive, baby.
Keep it alive, baby. We look forward to having you back, and we look forward to having you again, man. Thank you, brother.
All right, see y'all. Godspeed.